From advanced manufacturing, let's shift focus to solar and energy systems now. The country's solar and energy systems production has seen stupendous growth through all of last year, with India adding over 40 gigawatts of solar and wind capacity in 2025. This growth trajectory has been supported by a steady scaling up of domestic solar manufacturing, with module and cell production capacity reaching 175 gigawatts and 30 gigawatts respectively. In fact, our solar module manufacturing capacity alone more than doubled last year, going as high as 144 gigawatts. As the country marches towards its ambition to achieving 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030, let's hear from MV Photovoltaic Power Limited's leadership on how the centre's budgetary policy push could help the industry hit the upper circuit. Mr. Manjunatha Suhas, good to have you with us here on ET now at our flagship programming initiative, Budget Yatra, where we traverse the country, speaking to CEOs on what key expectations are from Budget 2026. We're here at MV, a company that you helped build, Mr. Manjunatha, from back in the day. So much so it has become part of the legacy itself of South India's solar manufacturing business. It's been a little over a decade of the Make in India initiative. How much of that you feel has translated to the manufacturing of solar and renewable energy products? Have we seen India's best push when it comes to making in India in the energy space?
Thank you. Yeah, definitely there is a lot of change. I'm in this business more than 3.5 decades. So I can see a lot change from the last 10 years to the what I have seen in the 33 years of my career. So the push of that Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat, it is really, we can able to see.
We've seen where we started in terms of the push for manufacturing. What is the outlook like? You feel the future will be based more on latest technology, production incentives? What do you think could hold the key to the outlook on the manufacturing front insofar as solar is concerned? And what is that outlook to begin with?
Absolutely. I mean, maybe just adding a perspective of what has happened, right, in terms of numbers, is that, we were adding about 3 to 5 gigawatt a year, and everything used to be imported. Modules, most of it used to be imported. There were hardly few players in the industry, although we've been for 30 years in this industry. There were hardly few players in this industry who could manufacture and supply to the domestic demand. But today you're seeing that India is adding 35, 60 gigawatt of modules in a year, and everything is coming from domestic. So that speaks a lot about what India has progressed in terms of Make in India. Right. And going forward to the outlook, right, now we are not talking about just starting off with one part of the supply chain. We're talking about backward integration. We're talking about, building the ecosystem. Right. This conversation itself talks about what the outlook and what the energy is like. And that is very positive, because we're companies like us that have got backward integrated into cell manufacturing, and we're further talking about expanding into wafers, ingots and other components. This is the direction that we are seeing the nation moving towards, especially in renewable energy.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I have to ask you, even as we continue this conversation, maybe I can ask you, Mr. Manjunatha, you heard Suhas talk about backward integration as being a key component to the way business is done. Going forward for India to really attain that manufacturing edge in the energy space, in solar manufacturing no less, what do you think are some of the components that must be focused on, keeping in mind the backward integration objective that manufacturers have?
We have to reach it all complete supply chain. It could be engineering, tooling, manufacturing, or the R&D. So complete ecosystem, then only we can able to reach into the level of what is to be required, net zero or the future demand of the energy or the green power able to achieve that one. To that, it could be, now we are in the cell and module, now the wafer is coming into the picture, next to the polysilicon. Now, what is most important is still for all these things, we are still importing the equipments. Still tooling has been done, but still engineering is been outsourced. Where we have a lot of resources available in India, that need to be accelerated to become into the more proactive to come into the backward
And it's
integration.
interesting that you're saying this. So the question really is, what do you look forward to from a policy push or from a budgetary angle to actually help make this happen and strengthen India's domestic supply chain in a sense?
I can say value addition on domestic products. So I can also say one more level that PLI, XYZ subsidy and all has to be linked to the domestically what the value addition has been any manufacturer is going to be done.
Okay, all right.
And this should be, I said very clearly, it should be complete ecosystem. Start from the manufacture, from the equipment manufacturing to the R&D to the end product. So for that, the one is the domestic value completely, and either incentive or anything can be there. Then the second one is going to be the better the capital access, especially any manufacturing you need a huge capital.
Absolutely.
And also the capital also need to be continuous generation. Then only the technology or the R&D can be continued, right? To that we need a auxiliary depreciation.
Right.
So then only that is possible. Otherwise, if there is a normal depreciation, that is there.
Right.
It's very difficult for the manufacturers to progress in the technological area, what is that is required.
Where is MV presently at with regard to capacities and what is their expansion plan in the pipeline? There are an interesting 4 years ahead of us insofar as India's renewable energy targets are concerned. 2030 is a red letter year, many say. Where is MV at with regard to capacity, future capacity and expansion?
See, we started with 15 megawatt. We call it as in 2007 when we started. But whereas today we are already 10.3 gigawatt of module capacity and 3 gigawatt of cell capacity. And we are expanding in the next 1.5 year to 16 gigawatt of module capacity and cell capacity of 9 gigawatt. But apart from that, we are also backward integrating the wafer and ingot manufacturing. And apart from that, we are also having ancillary product like aluminum, what is required for our industry, then encapsulant materials, then the junction boxes, then the ribbon, all those things we are integrating to MV. This is up to the 1.5 year what I said. But by 2030, we have wanted to go into the other areas also towards the renewable energy, to how it will grow into the market.
And surely, Suhas, all these plans must bring with it, like we discussed a little earlier in the interview, the absolute need and emphasis on, a domestic value chain and lesser reliance on imports. In terms of duty structures itself, all good? Would you like some changes? What is the expectation really on the duty structure front?
I think the duty structure, I think the industry is quite comfortable with right now. What is more important is the enablement of the local manufacturing, right? So that becomes a more crucial point of it. Duty structure is something the government has focused on in the past and created the ecosystem for cell and module manufacturing. So now further backward integrating and bringing in for wafers is something that needs to come in as the ecosystem or the manufacturing capabilities also add up. And that is going to have to be the focus of the budget.
In terms of R&D itself, so much left to achieve because, sure, India may have established itself as a manufacturing competitor, but there's so much of an upside that's yet to be had in terms of R&D. What do you think would be some of the major asks to actually go about encouraging R&D in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, R&D is something that's not cheap. And that is something that, especially if you want to become a true innovator, right? We're talking about getting into root cause of the technologies, changing from today what we're talking about power sky technology, tandem technologies. We need to, or anything else it could be, right? It is something that we need to integrate into the ecosystem and find the true commercializing that task. So that is going to be something that is not expensive. That's not going to be cheap. So it is expensive. So we need something that is going to enable not only manufacturers, but research institutes, educational institutes that are focused on research. So the community needs to come together to form a true R&D centers, capability centers that are focused on innovating and also commercializing this innovation. Not just a lab, but also how do you commercialize and how do you also enable this into bringing down the cost, increasing the efficiency. Even the small percentages that we increase is going to make a massive advantage on the global platform.
So before we end then, I have to ask each of you gentlemen 3 top asks from the union budget itself. I'll start with you, Mr. Manjunatha. What are the top 3 items on your wish list in terms of the upcoming union budget for the solar sector in terms of manufacturing itself? If you had a list and had to put top 3 on it, what would they be?
Domestic value addition, That's the very important. That should be linked to the incentive or PLI, whatever they can say. Then the second one is the depreciation, ancillary depreciation, which is earlier it is there, it is not there. That they need to be there for the capital, further investment for the growth. The third one is the tax rebate for the manufacturing to invest back into the business to get into the
Absolutely, a comprehensive list. And what about you, Suhas? What would those three lists be?
I think just adding on to that list and not repeating anything is that focus on R&D, give incentives for the large R&D that is required based on technology and actual plan, and focus on the cluster development. So industrial clusters, which is probably a proven thing that has happened in China, which needs to be something that we need to adopt here. So focus on industrial clusters, which includes the R&D centers, educational institutions, skill development institutions. I think these are the main two asks that I would focus on, adding on to what he said.
Well, lots to look forward to then, gentlemen, from Budget 2026 for both the sector and, of course, MV itself. On that positive, forward-looking note, thanks so much for doing this, and thank you for breaking down those insights for us, as always.
Thank you.
Manjunatha, Suhas, great speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
In our travels through the length and breadth of Bengaluru's manufacturing ecosystem, one constant remains. The focus on design, innovation, and R&D is the secret ingredient to elevate the progress made in India's manufacturing journey. And with that, we've come to the very end of our Budget Yatra in Bengaluru, but the journey continues through multiple Indian cities as we find out what the nation wants from the union budget. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.